So today I've been asked to do some letter tutorial type stuff. Now, those of you who've been watching this long enough know that I don't really do letters very much, but I do letters, you know, like a goalkeeper who plays football. What am I talking about? Basically, you know, if you know what a goalkeeper is in football or soccer, they tend to be able to play in the outfield as well. Not as good as they can keep goal, but they can play football. So as a character artist, I can do letters. Does this make any sense? Maybe I'll just shut up and get on with it. So let's do very, very basic first of all. Now, you've probably seen this a million times. You know, letter construction. You base it on a sort of grid system like that. So when you're designing letters, this is ultra basic. I know you'll all have seen this a million times probably. So you know, letters are mostly made up of 3 bars. That being the most obvious one. There you go. There's a very simple H. Dead simple. If you were to augment that in some kind of way, build on it, you'd either do a, if I shone a light this way, you do a drop shadow that comes down there. There you go. And there you've got a drop shadow on there. That's got a shadow. Or you could bang some 3D on it somewhere with that kind of dynamic. It's a slightly forward moving dynamic, as you could see. I'd probably put 3D on it that way. I'm just doing this very simply. This is what's called an oblique 3D. So all the lines are going in the same direction basically. There we go. So you've got that kind of thing going on. I know you can't see it very well because I'm starting to lay lines on lines, but it doesn't matter. This is just basics, just real basics. So you can see you get a very, very basic letter design. Now we use all kinds of tricks and things in graph to make letters look a bit more exciting. So let's give you an example of a letter K. So you start off with a bar there. Now you've got the beginnings of your bar. This is your left hand bar that I'm looking at there for my K. Now I can either do a nice dynamic pointy top to it like that and do the same down the bottom, or I can do the opposite of that. I could do one like that actually, which is dynamic. So you got 2 parallel lines on that bar, which changes the letter again. Or I can blunt it off both ends, make it very blunt. So there's lots of different options I can do, and it depends on the dynamism of my letter what I choose to do. So let's stick with my original. Let's get rid of some of them so you can see where I'm going with this. Let's stick with my original one, and let's go, and I'm just doing a very standard very standard kind of K. There we go. There you go. You've got a really, really basic K there. No flourishes, no nothing there. You know, it's just a nice K. But have you noticed all the points on it are nice and sharp because I've used quite steep angles. And it's looking nice. It looks like you can cut yourself on that. It's just sharp. Let's change it so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's change it to something else. Let's change it to that, and you see just how much it changes. Gives you a totally different dynamic. Give it a nice blunt end there. This one. Probably drop that down there, like that. Flared, slightly flare that line out just there. See, that gives it a very, very different dynamic there. I'm going to change that one there. Lift that up like that. Bring it in, tuck it. See how different that is as a dynamic? very different. Very different feel to that letter, and very, very simple to execute as well. Well, to show you, let's get rid of that. So, one of the things you can do with your letters, start to think of them as top heavy or bottom heavy. And what I mean by that is this. Let's work on a K again. So you've got a K there. I'll give it a nice sharp point up there. I'll give it a sharp point down there. But this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the little junction where you join the bar, I'm going to put it right down here. Right down here. Tuck it down there. There you go. And what you've got there is, again, it's a completely different dynamic for a K. Totally different. Most of the action's going on down the bottom there. Personally, I love that kind of dynamic in letters. Personally, you can do it in throwy letters as well. Give you an example of that. So you've got to do like a big bottom heavy K like that. Something like that, you know, I'm just jamming really, but so it's not very neat. But you can see where I'm going with that. So you get all the power and the energy, all the heft, all the heavy lifting's being done down here, very bottom heavy. Or you can do exactly the opposite. You can put it all up top. There you go. That's the opposite. Do nice little tight legs on it down there. And all that flair. That's a bit of an embellishment. I haven't got onto that yet. All that flair there is up the top. So that's very bottom heavy. That's very top heavy. I tend to go for top heavy letters myself. Much prefer them. Let's get rid of that. God, that rubber is filthy. Absolutely filthy dirty. Also, it's nearly gone. I use two types of eraser, by the way. Never talk about erasers really. Your standard sort of rubber like that, and this, which is much more precision. E. There you go. So you can get in all those little bits. If you wanted to just, you know, rubbing out interior lines, that kind of thing. You know, it's like using a pencil. Much better. In fact, I've even got one of these, which is a rubber pencil for those really fine little bits there. Just in case you've got a lot of lines that you need to keep on that you don't want to get rid of too early. Okay, so now you've got things like embellishments, or what's it called, kerning, and all that sort of stuff. Obviously in graph, you use all kinds of embellishments. Classic kerning, this sort of stuff. That's a nice one. Either going up into a point on the other side, or you can just knock the edge off it like that. And then you could do the same down here. Or you can, you know, I can keep a point on that, or, you know, whatever you want to do, basically. Whatever you want to do. Mix and match it up. And obviously, so many writers over the years have done all kinds of mixing and matching. And you can play with the lines as well. So, for instance, play with the dynamics of the lines. So instead of just linking that up, I can bring it in like that. Take it up like that. And do that. Doesn't that look beautiful as a dynamic? It's lovely, isn't it? It's very nice. So that's some of the stuff you can do. Now, obviously, where your sticks start to meet, you get great opportunities to do stuff with your letters. So if we're working on a K again, I'm just going to do something there. Just flare that out a little bit there. So if we're working on a K again, for instance, I don't even have a K in my name. I should have used a C or something, shouldn't I? I'm so used to using C. I just love Ks. K's are a great letter. There we go. And this is just it's not a particularly dynamic K or anything, but it could be quite pretty. There you go. I'll just kern that again. It's kerning, isn't it? Have I got that word right? I'm not an expert on linguistics, as you might have already guessed. So these bits where you join, because in theory you can run that all the way through. This is where your connectors come, all that sort of stuff. How you're going to connect letters up. So the fact that could run all the way through there means that I might just do that. And have that stick out the end. It's not very pretty, to be honest with you. So I'll just wash that line in so you can see where that goes as the resultant. There you go. To complete that K there. Please bear in mind, if you're judging these letters and kind of going, that's not very good, I am doing this straight off the top of my head. I'm totally unplanned, like normally. So, you know, just jamming here, guys, just jamming. So what I would probably do there is I would do a bigger line. Because, you know, you invent the rules. As William Goldman once said, you invent the rules in your world, and as long as your world hangs together, we will believe it. So there you go. So there you go. There's a nice K with a bit of extra on it. There you go. Now you can embellish that, do some bits or something, you know. Who knows what you want to do there, some bits off there, or you can what else can you do? You could do some arrows. How about some arrows? I mean, God, we could spend all day talking about arrows, because the arrows, it gets very complicated. But if you were to put a simple arrow off there somehow, you know, like a horizontal arrow or something. Again, there's so many different types of arrows. There's loads of different types of arrows. So I won't just get into that one. Like I said, it's a separate video all its own, really. But if you were to do that, drop an arrow in there, you know. Again, this is it's a massive subject. How you connect arrows, how you use arrows. That's not a great example, particularly. In fact, I'll get rid of that because it's not a great example. Because I would use that, I would do that, but I do a lot more around it. That on its own doesn't look great. I'll show you what's more conventional like. What's more conventional is you bring, you know, the bottom line up like that, and you twist that in, and you do that there, and then you'd bounce a big arrow off it, probably there, or something. You see where I'm going with that? That's a much more conventional type of use of an arrow. Again, you know, please excuse the mess, but I'm just doing this as quick as I can, really, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So it's by no means a work of genius, but that is the principle. That is the principle. You can do anything you like with this stuff. I think very long and hard if I'm going to do. I mean, you know, don't make anybody sort of don't let anybody tell you that they knock stuff out in 5 minutes flat. Watch the French graffiti documentary Writers, that has Bando designing letters, and you see just how long he takes doing all his connections and stuff. You know, it is a labour of love. You've got to get it right, because it needs to be dynamic, because what you're doing is you're replicating in visual form what energy does. This is what it is, you know, movement, speed, all these things, you know, the the different sort of tangible forms of energy. That's what you're doing with things like arrows. It's a physical representation of an energetic form. Anyway, hopefully you can see what I mean. My sketch style is so ropey sometimes, very rough. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for the time being. I'll give you another one in a minute.